Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm doing my roster review. This is day 462, so it's 37 days since my last roster review. This is a real popular video. I get a lot of requests for this. I do want to make sure everyone understands the point of this video is to walk through my roster, talk to you about investments I made only because I'm content creating, only because I'm in a alliance at a very high level, and what I think the real efficient and smart investments were. So, when I first started content creating, and even before that, when I was going through DD4, I was one of those early people racing. I had like a hyper efficient roster. It's become less so due to both content creation and moving to a Diamond Alliance. So what I will do is I'm going to talk to you about sort of what are the upgrades that I've made, what upgrades was I happy with, which ones do I not recommend, and what I think you should be doing with each one of these teams for your own roster. So I'm at about 14.2 million now. I was at 13.16 last month. It's just about a 1.1 million gain. And really that comes from a number of things. One thing, if you compare this to the last video, is definitely Stark Tech is a big part of it. I'm starting to get caught up in Stark Tech. I'm still not done. It's really the longest grind in the game. One of the few things you can't catch up on easily if you're a new player. Another big one is ISO Blue. If you've watched my videos before, I have a lot of characters at green ISO 5, but now, we've been doing close to or 100% on difficulty 1 of the Doom Raid of the new difficulty 1. So I've been getting more blue ISO, and that's definitely pumps up the numbers a little bit. And then there's been a couple new teams that I've invested in. So one of them is obvious if you're just looking at the top here, aside from some of these blue ISO characters, is Infinity Watch, right? So they came out this month, and I invested very early in Infinity Watch, and this is one where I didn't do this because of content creation or because of the alliance I'm in. I mean, maybe I brought them up a little sooner than I would have. I would have ordinarily, if I wasn't doing content creation, I would have brought them up slowly to make sure I didn't go over that gold spender milestone. But I would have taken this team to G15 no matter what, because this is the new arena meta. And I really think everyone should invest in this team, even if you're not going to unlock Adam Warlock. They work very well without him. And obviously they'll be more powerful with him, but this is a team worth kind of going all in on. I will tell you, I do have I've used no promo credits on this team. I do have 400 or almost 400 gold promos saved up, but instead of spending them on Gamora right now, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to unlock Adam Warlock. I'll get, I'll have kind of a 700K something team, whatever it is. I'm going to go up against other other people who have huge teams and see how the mirror match works, see how the whole team works together before making a decision of, do I want to invest gold promos in Gamora versus Phyla-Vell versus Adam Warlock and so forth. I think anyone telling you for sure they know where you should invest your gold promos is just guessing. And I don't like to give advice on that basis. I'm more cautious, and who knows, when I'm pulling orbs for Adam Warlock, maybe I'll get a 7 red star of one of these other characters. Now, I have done a lot of T4s. I will end up T4ing all on Gamora at some point. Phyla-Vell the same. I probably will just T4 her all. Although you don't even need, I think, all of these on her if you're on a budget. Nebula, I've done the alt and the passive. Moondragon, I've done the special and the passive. I know some content creators are talking about the alt. I just think they haven't played the team enough, which is, I think some of these lists came out before the team was really released. I wait to do my list till after I've played the team. So that's the way I prefer to do it, because I used to be one of you guys following these lists, and I get upset when the recommendations weren't good. So let me take a look at the other team that's really inflated my TCP this month, and that's Heroes for Hire. And I think in the last video I was like just starting to build them up. I had COLLEEN up, but the others I was still working on. And obviously I brought the whole team to G15, and I went really hard on T4s. I T4'd all on COLLEEN and on Misty. Luke Cage, I only did the passive, and then Iron Fist, I didn't do the alt. That would be the next one I would do. I've already released an infographic and a video on how to build Heroes for Hire, so you should check that out. I will say that this is an investment that I told you before I made the investment that I would not recommend this investment for most players. I think if you beat DD4 many months ago and you're in some high-end alliance and you're trying to be the best in Alliance War, fine. But these teams always have counters that come out very soon after you invest in them, and it's really a team that's not helpful anywhere other than Alliance War defense, which you don't even get to play yourself. Very hard for, I think for in Alliance War, the rewards for winning versus losing are basically the same. I mean, the way you get most of the rewards in this game is as raids, you get more, and then what war season you're in. In other words, if you're in a higher league like Diamond versus Platinum 3 versus Platinum 1 versus Gold 4, whatever, you get more rewards. But just versus winning and losing, if you look at the difference, it's not much. So to me, unless you really are super into war in your end game, I think this is pretty skippable. Just put your spare gear into them. But I did this for content creation. We made a bunch of videos, and we got to showcase them in DD4 and all that stuff. Now, let's take a look at some of the rest of the teams, and I'll show you some of the other investments I made. I will say, first of all, I did use 100 gold promos to bring Kestrel to 6 red stars. I know a lot of people were like, no, save them all for Infinity Watch, but this is a character that really does a lot of work for me in every game mode. I use her to counter Heroes for Hire in Alliance War. I use her, before that, I used her in this really cool team with a bunch of spare parts that I showcased in the Art of War video. And I also use her in 2 different parts of the Doom Raid, tech and skill, and she really makes both of those sections quite easy, even at difficulty 1. So to me, this is a very safe investment, and I really am happy with this character. She was the first character I brought up to ISO Blue 3. I also invested a 6th red promo into Silver Surfer. This may have been a closer call, but geez, this is such a powerful character. And I will tell you, when you compare the stats of characters like him and Kestrel to the older characters, you can really see the power creep. I mean, look at the stats on this guy. I mean, I haven't even filled in the 7th star yet, and his health is 448k. My Hela in Mystic is like 230 or something like that. Like, if we go and compare him to Hela, who I don't quite have it I don't have her at G15. I have her at G14 level 80, but still, I mean, 258k. I mean, she can get 1 shot or 2 shot before she takes a turn. Sometimes I just have to reset the Mystic node because she'll just die before taking a turn on difficulty 1, where the enemies have 75% additional damage. So, where a Surfer, it's like he's, totally beefy. So I just think these 2 are safe investments, and I continue to believe that. And certainly, if you're a player who's not going to get Adam Warlock anytime soon, they're a good 5th on the Infinity. Both of them, I think, are good 5ths on the Infinity Watch team, depending on your opponent. Now, if we go through some of my other teams and where I am, what I've really tried to do elsewhere is invest in teams. So, like, this is a team, for example, I built up before I was content creating. This is a very more efficient investment for high-end play, where you have the G15 on Bishop, you have G14 level 80 on the other 2 good characters, and you have these at G13. But one thing I did is I have brought Iceman and Kitty Pryde from level 71 to level 80. I didn't, I had them at level 71 for a long time, because if they're smaller, they can feed turn meter to a better character in Beast. But in difficulty 1 of the Doom Raids, they were sometimes dying. It was actually an issue for me. And so, I have been bringing more characters up to level 80 that are on meta teams, so I don't spend gear. I mean, one thing that has really happened to me between content creation and then competing against all the Krakens in the Diamond Alliances, who have much bigger rosters than I do, these 20 million TCP accounts, that sort of thing, 21 million, is that my reserves have really been depleted. Like, I'm down to 914 here. I'm at 9584 here. I was, even after DD4, I had something like 14,000, 16,000 SBC. So definitely depleted my reserves. If the data mine looks like they're going to have red gear coming out soon, and that's going to lead, I imagine you'll need that for DD5. But if you needed orange gear for DD5, I'd be at a disadvantage. compared to some people who really stockpile gear because they've been playing longer, further along. I have not put more T4s in this team, and the last T4 that I put in was the Special and Jubilee, which I really like. I think I would if I did an infographic. I did a video called "Building at Your Axemen," but if I did an infographic, this one would definitely be high if you're using the full team, which I think now I'm convinced is more important than I used to believe it was. If we look at some of my other teams, for example, AIM I've ignored. As Guardians, I've ignored, really, other than Hela. If you look at Black Order, I have not improved this team at all since I beat DD4, 6 months ago, whatever it was. I just left them where they're at. I never brought Cull or Corvus to G15, and I'm pretty happy about that. Not really interested in getting Blue ISO on them. I put Blue ISO on Kestrel and Doom first. I've been working on Surfer. And then I've been doing Infinity Watch because I figure I'll use them in Arena. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to be bringing up characters like Symbiote Spider-Man. I have started working on Scream because really the symbiotes are starting to show their age. In difficulty 1, where the damage is 75% higher and the health is 35% higher and the armor is 35% higher, there's timing out issues. Sometimes these guys get one shot. They're definitely getting power crept. And they don't have the stats that the new ridiculous characters do. So I think a Blue ISO on them in the short run is going to be really good until they sell us some sort of solution there. But looking at my other teams and some of the improvements that I have made, I have done no more investment in the Brotherhood, although I will at some point bring Toad and Juggernaut up to level 80 just because it's a way for me to improve these characters without using gear. Although obviously for many people, gold and training mats is a bottleneck. One thing I will say, by the way, is a lot of people focus on you've whaled out or something as opposed to the actual advice in the video. One point I will say to you is if you are going to whale in this game, don't buy the orange gear offers, which are complete trash, garbage. Offers. You really want to do is get energy. That's really the best way to whale in this game. And I really am just all about energy. And then you get the training mats and gold and gear and everything else at the same time. I just think that's better. That's why I tend to, when I do get training orbs out of those orb draft dollar offers, I just end up storing them and not using them. And other than content creation has really been the only time I've needed to use them for that reason. Otherwise, moving on to some of these other teams here, Defenders are a dead team. Fantastic Four really aren't worth upgrading at all. I mean, I've just kind of left them where they're at. Not an important team anymore. If you already haven't invested in them, just really power crap, very marginal team. Guardians are not worth building at all. Hydra, I haven't touched since before. They've become less important now, just because they're, the skeletery beats mercs and so forth, so you don't need Hydra 3.0. But I do use, as I talked about in the Alliance War Offense video, I do use Zemo, Red Skull, and Grenadier with some of the other guys, and depending on who the opponent is. They're good, but they're not a super priority. I did bring Red Skull from level 75 to level 80 just because I figured, I use them a lot of times at Zemo, better to have some survivability, but I haven't bothered with Grenadier yet or Winter Soldier or whatever. Maybe at some point I'll do that. And then, looking at some of my other teams, Inhumans, I mean, Black Bolt and Yo-Yo have become super important. And I did bring Crystal up from level 71 to level 80 just because in the beginning I was using her on my heroes for higher counter until I switched to using Emma. But, just okay. The rest of them are not worth bothering with at all. Even at my level, I just ignore them. Kree is a dead team. I mean, you see my Ultimus is at level 1. Korath I haven't bothered with. Korath and Ultimus are like a flex option for mercs, and they have some minor uses, but I don't think that they're worth investing in. Captain Marvel's super power craft. Minerva's good in Dark Dimension. She's a reasonable choice for the tech nodes. But she's, she's also somebody who her best days are probably behind her. She's just got such a durable kit. Marauders are basically a dead team. I still haven't brought my Sabretooth above G11. I have a 7 Red Star Mystique that I've just left here. I'll eventually bring them up, but I mean, they're not a little bit, just a level 80, I guess, but because they are on my war defense, but they're not very good. This team has really lost a lot of ground. This was a team that at one point I was excited about getting Killmonger and Rykard up to level 80, and they've fallen down my list because this team just loses to Skeletori anyway. Even though they scale so well with gear, Skeletori just beats them. And speaking of Skeletori, for a minute here, this is a team that I had invested in when they first came out. Super disappointed. And then once they got reworked, they were amazing. Now Black Widow, of course, is on the team. You always run Merc Soldier, but this team's great. I'm in the process right now of bringing Yelena up to level 80 from level 71. Just a very, very good team. They win all the time anyway for me, even on a punch-up, but I figure this is a big team and a team that I think will be around for a while, counters a number of different teams. As I go on here, Power Armor's a dead team. Haven't bothered with them. Pimtech's another dead team. I only use them in some of them in the Gamma raid. And then, we're really, when we look through here, obviously Ravagers, Shield, none of those are worth investing in. Shield, I did talk last time about Nick Fury and how I use him in some in the skill nodes of the Doom Raid, which is still true. So he's got standalone value, but really only very end game. Now with the ISO 5, I wouldn't recommend that for most players. Shadowland, I have brought all those characters up to level 80 just because it's such an important team for me. It's helped a little bit having a slightly bigger Daredevil and Elektra, but of course I already had Moon Knight at level 75, G14. I already had these two at G15, so it's just bringing him to level 80, these other two from level 71 to level 80. So it's helped, but my Shadowland team is already punching up huge and doing a great job. Sinister Six, a team that sadly I've ignored, even though I've got great stars on them and everything. Their kind of best days are behind them. I feel like this is a team that was a little disappointing with the legendary. It just never really was that dominant anywhere, even in war. Supernatural's a team where this is an investment I regret. I mean, I did it when I first joined Panther Hulk. I'm like, well, I got to have all my teams big just because most of my opponents have 700 and 800K teams, and I'm trying to get by with 550K teams or 530K teams. But, they just have fallen off. I mean, I use them with Hela, drop Elsa occasionally, but now that Wave 1 has been broken up, that was their main counter, and now that Wave 1 isn't around, they're not as useful. Symbiotes, we've already talked about there. I still think they're worth the investment because we don't have a better bio option, and you want them for City, DD4, and so forth, but definitely showing their age, getting long in the tooth. Uncanny X-Men I haven't done anything with for quite some time. I don't think there's any reason to, other than obviously Beast is really astonishing. He's not even on this team, really. And then, Wakandans are a joke of a team. X Factor, I overinvested in because I was doing content creation. This is a team where Longshot and Shatterstar I would just max out. I mean, I wouldn't put gold promos on Shatterstar, but I'm very happy with the fact that I did gold promos to get Longshot from 6 to 7 because I did it 6 months ago. So I got him at the top of the meta, and then now he's not the top of the meta anymore, right? That's Infinity Watch, but he's still hangs around, right? He's still good enough, and so that's generally what you want to do with these characters. Some people asked me recently. There's a guy asked me recently on my Discord. Hey, should I invest in gold promos into Sinister? I'm going to bring him into DD4, and I'm like, no. You want to be the guy who invested gold promos into Sinister a year ago, not the guy investing them now. And for me, with Longshot, I invested gold promos in Longshot 6 months ago. So I'm going to get probably another 6 months of value where he's still going to be useful in multiple game modes. If you can get a year of value where guys high up in the meta, that's great. So for a while I was, beating everything with him. Now we got Infinity Watch and Surfer Kestrel. We have other options. For a little while with Kestrel, that was actually good for the Dad Bros. Now the Infinity Watch roll, I'm okay. But I did this back in whatever it was, January. So it's been quite some time. I'm very happy with that investment. But nonetheless, Dad Bros I would bring up, and they're great in Dark Dimension. And obviously, you're going to need this team for Adam Warlock as well. But I think you can get away with the unlock even for 7-star Adam Warlock is G14. You could totally get away with G14 on Multiple Man and Polaris, maybe even lower. Really depends on your level of competition. But those two right now are not as necessary. And then just talking a little bit here about X-Force, this is a team that's really fallen off. I've got great stars in Negasonic and X23, and this team is definitely a utility team, but that's kind of what it is, a utility team that at least at my level and more, we use for cleanups, we use for, kind of punching on the lower end teams. And then Young Avengers are a team that we really don't use much, but Squirrel Girl is used quite a bit as a plug and play character, just like how Drax is. I mean, these are characters that have use, because Squirrel Girl is one of the fastest cleansers in the game. So for right now, if you need a cleanse in your team, you throw in Squirrel Girl because the rest of the team isn't very valuable. So I still have left I have a couple with G10, so just not a high priority for me. All right, guys, what I hope you get out of the video is that this is just a talk about where you should be devoting resources on your roster. The goal is to help you, not to talk about my roster as much, just to use it as a starting point of a discussion to discuss roster building. I hope it was helpful to you. So if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, go to our Discord, leave me thoughts there, ask questions. We have lots of great roster building discussions there. Also, you can leave comments below. I try to read them when I can. And also check out our Twitch stream. That's linked below as well. I stream most weeknights.